We're live.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for. I know. So I don't know anybody who's more at the heart of everything that's going on around us than you. So thank you for taking the time. I appreciate
Oh my
it.
gosh, of course.
Can you tell people first of all who you are? I mean, I put it in the description.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So hello everyone. Betty Junod, and I work at VMware.
I've been mispronouncing it this whole time.
No. Well, technically, technically the name comes from it's French Swiss origin. So, but the families have been in the U.S. for a number of generations. So now we've Americanized it.
Oh.
So
wait, which one is the Americanized version?
Junod.
Junod. Okay,
Yeah.
so Junod is wrong.
That's many generations ago, it would have been Juno. But, we're American. We don't.
I screwed up Pernima's name. I screwed
You
up.
didn't? No.
Giant
We are a
Bears.
melting pot of so many different cultures. Like, there's so many names. It's all right.
I
It's all
thought yours
good.
is like, it's like a grab
No,
bag
it's
name.
great.
It's just freebie, but I got that one wrong. I'm not.
No.
I'm
You're
not going to bother with names anymore.
Josh, you're fine.
Person 1 and 2. Okay, so
You're
Betty-
fine. So, yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Betty. I work at VMware with Josh, and I have the entire marketing organization inside of VMware's Modern Apps and Management. So that's the entire Tanzu and Spring portfolio of things. So we've got Josh and all the other developer advocates looking after Spring and Kubernetes stuff, as well as product and technical marketing on our application platforms, as well as our management products.
It's like,
Yeah.
and you said with, but I think I don't know if people can appreciate. You're like my boss's boss. Like you're like 10 levels above the totem pole. So
No.
it's your organization is enormous, and that's what I'm saying. I really appreciate you taking time to sit down with me for this. And we're at VMware Explore
Singapore. Yes.
which is just what a crazy event. How many? Can you tell us about? I mean, the numbers. Are we allowed to say anything like that? It's
Yeah,
just
I think we are because
more than zero, less than a billion.
Yes, somewhere on that spectrum is the number of attendees here.
Yeah.
But this is the second Explore for this year, this fall, part of our season. We've got a few more, but I think the team here planned. We have like 3,000 people that have come by across this 2-day event. And, the part that I'm really excited about is that, this is our first time bringing Spring One back in person, since the pandemic and post, Pivotal becoming a part of VMware.
Yeah.
And the fact that we've been able to do this both in Vegas and here in Singapore is pretty awesome.
Well, and so that's the other thing. I one can only imagine how exhausted you are, because at first we had the one in Vegas. That was just a month. That wasn't even a month. That was like, well, maybe it's
Is that it? It was
Yeah,
only a month ago? Oh my goodness.
a million years ago it feels like, but it was
Yeah.
like August, wasn't it? Or
Yeah, end of August. So
And-
you're right.
Yeah.
It is like a month ago. Oh
And-
my gosh.
And now we're here in Singapore, and you another, not quite as ambitious or quite as at scale as the one in Vegas. I
Different
think.
size, but still, lots of work, right? Because multiple days
Well-
and tracks and sessions, lots of speakers.
Yeah, and then the keynotes. So I've been a tiny little cog in the machine for these keynotes, and that was just humbling. We sat down on that stage today, took the team selfie, and it's like,
You see like so many people, all the people that make it happen, right?
Yeah,
I know.
a billion
It's
people, like,
amazing.
just oh wow, yeah.
How we had to like scrunch in just to fit in the photo.
Literally, yeah. There's somebody running around like pushing us with tongs, like trying to get us to,
Yeah.
compress.
Every little detail is like somebody's taking care of it. It's kind of, it's a lot of the magic, right?
It will, and I think that people appreciate it. I think
Yes.
the people I've talked to have just been buzzing with excitement, obviously. And me, I don't tell my boss, but I don't know everything that VMware does. I know the Tanzu stuff pretty well, obviously, but like some of the stuff I just like, oh, that's really cool. I'm learning stuff. I'm
It's
talking
a
to
big
people.
organization, right? There's lots of 26-year history of tech, right? There's
Yeah.
so much being built at VMware.
Oh, that's a good point. 26 years. Is that a birthday recently?
That's this year.
I mean,
Yeah.
wow, yeah, 26 years. Wow. Okay. So what's I have the myopic Tanzu perspective, whereas you've got this sort of big brain, big universe world.
Tanzu is my number one priority.
Yeah, well, mine too, but it's also my only priority. I can afford that luxury. So what's going on out there? What's the big story? What should people know if there's like a TLDR for the show? show.
I mean, TLDR for the show, every company, every conference is talking about AI, right? But I think
That old thing.
I know the current flavor. But the big thing about it is, I think the announcements that we made, called for private AI, really kind of brings together like what VMware has done really well, right, on the infrastructure and data center side, on-prem side, and being able to extend that to AI, and how people can take advantage of that in their organization. Because, I mean, you've seen the stuff like ChatGPT, all those things are great, but the companies are really kind of freaked out about somebody just uploading code into some public, thing, and then what do you do, like? Because then that's like, there's been articles about different companies like kind of having that happen, and it's all about how can we help them have more choices, like where they want to have that stuff run.
That's really sensible, and I'm glad we're already on that. That was quick, really quick. But and yeah, you're right. Even with like everybody knows ChatGPT. I think a lot of people probably know things like Dolly and Midjourney, but even they've had issues where people are like, "Hey, you obviously looked at my image before." Yeah, and that got fed into this model, and people are upset about it. Like that shouldn't have been there in the first place, or whatever.
I think it's raising. I mean, we can just riff on this one a little bit, but because it's such an interesting topic. But I think it raises some really interesting questions about think about any creator. Yeah. Right. Like, if you put something out there on the internet, can it just be scraped and sucked into some public LLM model? Like, and then what? Right. Yeah. How do you prove where it came from? How do I know, like, this happened or that happened? They
have those watermarks. I wonder if that's like, because the AI is smart enough to probably remove that now,
I guess. What's an interesting thing is, and this happened at Explore US, is that simple things like, we don't want to without people's consent, we don't want to publish photos of them, of their faces online, because now if it's just public, it can just be sucked up. And now you don't have, wow. So, there's, you think about the impact on that on like just our social media stuff, right? Yeah. Like it's a whole new world of like, what does this mean? What does this mean for like your face, the words you say?
Well, the GDPR is looking mighty sensible right about now, right? Like all that stuff around data privacy that seemed a little draconian 5-6 years ago. Yeah. Now when the machines are like, just like you heard, that was even at the heart of the writers and actors strike going on in Hollywood, right? They don't want their likeness being used for virtual actors. Yep. And it's just like, well, this is a weird tech tussle to have. If you had told me this would be on the bingo card for 2023, there's just no way I would have seen it coming. But
I know it's just going so fast too. So then it's like, you almost can't keep up with it to understand what's going on. And for anybody who writes software, it's like, how do you know when you asked ChatGPT or whatever for some like code snippets, like where it came from? Like, are you using someone's IP? Is it just all open source code that's up there?
I hope is. I mean,
but you know what I mean? Like, how do you know? Where do you know? How do you know how you made your soup? Right?
Yeah. Not to mention, and actually, that's a good point. Like, I mean, on the other hand, having software where, with your consent, they can look at they can log into your private Git repositories and all that, and then inform what you type.
Totally.
That would be great. But again, I want to have a machinery around that. That's technology.
Totally.
Being wielded, something like that. So I guess that's part of the. Yeah. Not that specifically, but that idea of.
Yeah, I think and I think it like this is why, not that I'm like everything needs to be on-prem or whatever, but it's that's the idea of like the ability to have that private AI. So like I can create I can have my very specific data set, and then be able to run the models against that is where it gets interesting. I think it puts a bigger onus on the creators to be better about like the source material. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like if you write really great, detailed and initial set of documentation, you can then use something like that, generative AI, to then help you make more things out of it. But oh my goodness. Imagine if but you can't be sloppy on your documentation now, right? Because then it's going to make, Gen AI is going to make sloppy tutorials from it.
Sloppy in, sloppy out. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Yeah. These are some like the random thoughts, like just before you go to sleep, I'm like, oh.
That'll break my day.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So AI is everywhere, and we talked about.
Mhm.
Actually, we did the good Dr. Pollock. He did that Spring AI workshop.
Yeah.
That was insanely popular back in Vegas. Less than a month ago.
Mhm.
Like, I think
It was like booked, fully booked, right? Oversold.
did they.
I think they tried to run it again too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like it was just really really popular, and it's a project that we're like, there's nobody better to helm that project than Dr. Pollock. Obviously, he's got a background in all this kind of data centric stuff, and it was just very very fascinating.
Yeah.
To see the appetite for that. And okay, so AI, that's huge. I noticed that, and obviously, I've seen other attempts at like integrating AI and virtualization and infrastructure before, because you've got so many moving parts in your typical IT organization. Having that extra help can be very useful.
Totally.
What else? I mean,
Well, yeah, so that side, and I think there's a lot of work on just the core infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
So that GPU and CPU enabled, so that you can, run those workloads.
Going back to AI, you
Exactly.
want GPUs in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then our stuff, right?
Yes.
So much awesome goodness coming out in the next spring release.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff on Tanzu.
Well, and there's also that. So Purnima,
Mhm.
who is another, is she a vice president or president?
She's the general manager, so she's the boss of our entire group.
Oh, okay. So
Mhm.
she had a segment in our keynote this morning, and also in Vegas.
Yep.
They're talking about first of all, the growth
Mhm.
of Spring, which is, I forgot the numbers, like 50% year
For
over year.
5 years.
5 years in a row.
5 years running. That's amazing. That
Go-
is amazing.
Go community.
Yeah.
But then also she talked about it was sort of like, yeah, rah rah Spring,
Mhm.
but also, and I love this about our team, it was tempered with, but you got to think about production.
Totally.
These things need to be, they're two sides of the same coin. If you don't do one, you can't have the other, right? And
Yeah.
it very quickly turned into, look, we've got you
Yeah.
sorted here. We've got
Exactly.
the best destinations for your runtime, for your code.
The best platforms to take that from, once you're ready from the developer's desktop to all the other things,
Yeah.
right? That you need to get it out to production.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So like we talked about, today we saw, we have, I mean, the thing that we've got the Tanzu application
Platform.
which is Cloud Foundry plus plus. No, sorry, that's
Tanzu application service,
which
yeah.
is Cloud Foundry plus plus.
And
We've
then
got
platform.
TAP is
Mhm.
Kubernetes plus plus.
Yep.
And then we've got the Azure Spring Apps Enterprise,
Yes.
ASAE, which is
It's like tap on Azure plus a bunch of other Azure goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
and so I don't know, what's the story there? What are we telling people to choose which and when?
I think it really just depends on, it may seem like, wow, why do you all have three? Right. But
That's my question.
yeah. But then also, like, we've even seen it with some of our customers where they are looking at two of them at the
Nice.
same time. And you know what it is? Because each team, right? The
Yeah.
app teams, they may have a different set of needs. So, we've got loads of folks that are using Taz because they're PCF customers from back in the day. They love it, and it's great for certain types of apps.
The old Pivotal Cloud Foundry.
Yes,
PCF,
Pivotal
yeah.
Cloud Foundry. And then there's, and now a lot of people are looking for platforms that are Kubernetes based, right? And
Yeah, of
so then it's like becomes a TAP conversation, or, if they're using AKS, EKS, then, like if they're using AKS, and they're an Azure shop, then ASAE becomes a great option.
Yeah.
The thing with the ASAE is like, hey, I don't have a big ops team or platform engineering team, and I don't have the time and effort to deal with that.
Give me something turnkey.
Totally, like fully managed and hosted in the cloud. That's the whole point, right, of those cloud services. So we've seen in some customers where they're like, oh, this team, if you're a build it and run it type of group,
Mhm.
they can do TAP. They
Yeah.
want to have some more control of stuff.
Right.
This other team is like just all devs, so they want to do ASAE. And we're like, amazing, we can support both.
And with all three of these things, obviously, if you want to run Azure, we can help you. But with Azure Spring Apps, it's already there.
Exactly.
You don't have to
Yeah.
lasso binaries around. It'll just push the button.
Absolutely.
This kind of thing is, I think the choice is so important today.
Mhm.
Obviously, we talked about on-prem, and that's one dimension. Obviously, publicly hosted versus on-prem.
Mhm.
You want the same control plane. You want the same sort of governance. You want the same
Yep.
sort of billing model, and the metering, all that kind of stuff is.
Same developer experience,
Yes.
no matter where it's deployed, right?
Well, that's the other thing. I noticed that Taz, formerly hitherto PCF, and Tap are sort of, and Azure Spring Apps, they're sharing more and more of the same
Mhm.
bits, you know.
Yeah.
The difference, there's a difference obviously, and there's ergonomics around it, but it's getting more and more unified for certain key parts. So you're really well served no matter where you land, I think.
Absolutely. Like we've got backstage stuff coming in, Taz.
Yeah.
And then you saw all the IDE integrations in so that they can have like that same kind of catalog type of experience in the IDE, but then it can deploy to ASAE.
Mhm.
So this whole idea that like, because developers are like, I don't want to worry about infrastructure.
Right.
I want to spend the time on the good stuff, right? I want to build something. I want to, add more features. I want to write software.
I feel seen. Like, I'm woefully out of my depth. Which actually, speaking of,
Yes.
the one thing that made it so that I felt a little comfortable. I mean, I used to. Okay, I'm not proud, but I used to administer my, 20 years ago, I was the guy that went into a data center and I did a lot of that stuff as well as write code, right?
Mhm.
And increasingly, it's just become the complexity of the app has gotten, you can do more with less. The Lego bricks are more powerful, more potent, obviously with Spring and Spring Boot and so on. But also the infrastructure demands have gotten they're more powerful as well.
Mhm.
And so it's just very easy to get involved or mired in the app side. And I've kind of stuck to that
Yeah, you've done that.
statement.
Yeah.
And so that was like 10 years. And then something really important happened, right? There's this, and it kind of happened around the same time. I think one enabled the other, Docker.
Mhm.
And then obviously on the Pivotal side, in the old days, we had this company called Pivotal, and it was like sort of platform as a service, these were,
Yeah, we all kind of came up around that same time.
right. So that's what I was going to say. I think I did the Pivotal
The platform side. Yeah.
rodeo, and you
I was at Docker.
were at Docker, which is, what was that like? That must have been like, talk about one of the most important, I don't know, how do you say, I don't know, one of the most important companies in the history of computing, right? Obviously.
It was
Now and
a wild ride. So I had just recently left VMware after 8 years. So
Okay.
I was deep in infrastructure, right?
Yeah.
Virtualization, all that stuff. And then by happenstance, I got introduced to the Docker team. And then I think they were just shy of 100 people when I joined. And I was there for like 4.5 years. So a long time, like joined in like 2014. So it was pretty early.
Yeah.
It was amazing to see like the pull.
Yeah.
And we had focused, the thing was, it's like we were solving some very specific problems for the developer, right?
Yeah.
It was, and to see that, I think that was also kind of where it was a very strong pivot point for open source.
Yeah. Yeah.
The CNCF started maybe a year or two after I joined Docker. So, this whole, like that whole ecosystem.
The idea of the CNCF not being there, because it just seems.
I know, but even now, when you think about it now, you're like, that was almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
That,
what the?
I know, it's crazy. It was a life-changing point for me.
Yeah.
It was when I saw, like, when you could really see the whole like idea of like, what is a developer experience? What are they fighting with?
Right.
And really my big statement from that is like, developers don't care about infrastructure until it doesn't work.
Right.
Yeah, because it's just hearing everyday stories of people talking about how it takes them weeks and weeks and weeks to set up even their local environment.
Right.
Because of like, dependency problems, blah, 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 and how Docker made them like not have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, and Docker Compose after, right?
Oh, yeah.
Docker first, but then Docker Compose in particular.
Totally, like multi-container app. Yeah. And then, the story the ecosystem grew and the story played out. And it's great to see Docker where they are today because they're thriving. Crushing it and they focused on like the front end of the DevX with the local experience.
Yeah.
And then they have great partnerships now with cloud providers, and you can deploy it to any, because we know Kubernetes is like kind of de facto on the infra side now.
Sure.
So I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. I can only imagine. Obviously, the tribes of Docker are everywhere in Silicon Valley. You can see they're everywhere in the world, of course, but especially in Silicon Valley, you just bump into these people. They're like, they could tell you stories,
Yeah. It was fun to come back to VMware and then work on, and then come into the Tanzu team to meet like James Waters.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And so meet
guy.
all these like folks from Pivotal who I would say like way back when we were all coming up, we were kind of like all competing.
Yeah.
Right. Like there was like the
Yeah.
Kubernetes crew, there was the Docker crew, there was
Cloud Foundry.
and Cloud Foundry Pivotal crew. So, but at VMware was the place that in recent years where like we had all three in one place. So that was kind of fun to say like, what did we learn from those early days of like, that movement, the container movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was fun.
It is fun. And actually, and the synergy, I just use that word unironically, help. The synergy.
Oh, Josh.
The synergies.
What other corporate buzzword are we going to throw in there?
Gotta go. Where's the
Are you allowed to say that?
I don't know. Wait. And okay.
Well, we're getting some questions.
Yeah, and people are like, look, we got some questions, and somebody said,
there's a lot of hellos.
Hello, Betty and Josh. Thanks for bringing such a distinguished guest to your channel. And I'm like, yeah, thank you, Betty. Thanks for coming to the channel.
Thanks for having me.
And then so we just got another great question, which is, can you please share some details on the Kubernetes++, and Josh, how it aligns with Spring Boot's native image movement?
Okay, so let me talk a little bit about Kubernetes++.
Yeah.
So what we mean by that is when we're looking at Tanzu application platform, like Kubernetes is plumbing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's infrastructure plumbing, abstraction on top of compute network storage, oftentimes on top of virtualized like underlying infrastructure.
It's almost always, right? Even if you don't see it on the cloud, public cloud.
Oh my gosh, my favorite is when people say like, we don't want VMs, we're public cloud. I'm like, do you think there's no magic elves building servers for you in the cloud? Those are VMs.
Yeah, come on.
Anyways, I digress. But Kubernetes++ means instead of you getting Kubernetes and then downloading a whole bunch of other projects.
Wait, somebody.
What?
Can you greet them?
Who?
This one.
Hello? What do you want me to say?
Well, hello. I don't know.
Hi. We have someone from Korea. 안녕하세요.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
We were wondering who would join. We found out other people in Asia. Cool.
Because it's convenient time zone wise for us right now.
I think so.
No, everyone back home is sleeping.
Yeah.
Sleeping.
Plumbing.
Yes, plumbing. So what we're doing with application platform is taking components.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the CNCF landscape, right, for every category of stuff, right, like the storage, the networking, whatever, there's like, I don't know, like so many options.
Yeah.
And really, the early adopters, what did they have to do? They picked stuff and they had to glue it together, right? They had to
carefully
glue it together.
Don't breathe on it.
And also like code their own stuff around it, oftentimes functionality that didn't exist. And then, you've made your own platform.
Yeah.
So when we say Kubernetes++, it's like, we're doing that work for you. We're taking a lot of open source projects, some from CNCF, some that are things that we've open sourced ourselves.
Yeah.
We're doing the integration into the glue. We're doing all the lifecycle management of the pieces. And then we're also building more features on top of it. And then we're shipping that to customers as a platform. So that's what that is.
One of my favorite pieces of that is the cartographer, that whole, and on my team, we have this person, her name is Corey Berkeley. She's like a
also
dame.
here in Singapore.
Yeah, but also one of the smartest people freaking ever. They're just really, really like legendarily, amazing, smart. And she the way that I didn't really understand what it was, but I guess it's this idea of like, I want to have a reusable pipeline, basically.
And it's like pipeline orchestration.
Yeah.
In many ways. Yeah.
Just brilliant. So you can use it. It's an open source project, right? To which I think we contribute.
Yes. So it's our project.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's an open source project, but you don't want to let the platform do it for you. Like
it's integrated in the platform.
Right.
We pre-build some pipelines, supply chains out of the box, but then the best part is it's open so that people can then build their own if they need to.
Yeah. Which gets us to the next question, which is building images, right? If you want to build your own, hopefully the only thing you're building when it comes to TAP is maybe one supply chain and then set and forget. But then most of the time you're going to care about how you build, and that gets you to the Tanzu build service, which is that's KPAC, which is in turn build packs as a service. And then that gets us to the second part of his question, or the question.
The Spring Boot native.
Yeah. So we talked about, this has been one of those, at the keynote today, we had Jürgen and obviously the segment that Dr. Sai and I did, and also Cora's. There's just been all these incredible opportunities for building apps that are more and more impressively small, efficient, and scalable.
Yep.
So we have Project CRAC, CRAC, which is the Coordinated Restore at Checkpoint. We have, and that's based on Linux CRIU technology, right? We have GraalVM native images. We have Java 21 and virtual threads. All of these are fairly low touch things that if you apply them, they pair well together. They work well together. Well, except for CRIU. I don't know if you can do that with native images, but everything else you can work. There's a synergy there. I did it again. All these things work well together. He's asking about, or they're asking about native images, and what does that look like on Kubernetes? It's huge. If you can get your application onto GraalVM, onto Spring Boot 3.x and GraalVM, your application takes a lot less in terms of RAM footprint and all that. And so I don't know about our particular story. How do we meter? Is it by resource, your footprint? Like if you have an app?
Not in,
seeds
I don't,
or what?
no, I think in TAP it's really by cores.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, but if you can get your application, so that's at the platform level, right? And so you would have that running on, at whatever number of clusters you want for your environment. But then, platform without workloads is without purpose.
Right.
So, the making the apps themselves much more efficient, that's great, not only for like platform, like resource consumption, but I'm sure like for like spin up time, scale out time, right? Because it's just
time to first byte
exactly
for a new service.
And also if you start sending apps out to the edge, you can't have like heavy footprint apps. No. Yeah.
That's a great point. Yeah, that's true. So GraalVM native images are there, but also if you're charting per core, you're also going to probably be interested in the virtual threads. Virtual threads mean that I can take the same app that handled X, and now maybe I'm doing like 3X this number of requests or whatever. There's no official endorsement of any benchmark here. I'm just saying.
These are fictional, hypothetical benchmarks.
The point is with virtual threads, you can now make better use of your CPUs, right? Because it's a shame. I see this all the time. And I'm sure you've seen it. Like you go to a data center and you look at all these machines, and it's like, well, that's one of the miracles of virtual machines is it allows me to more closely densely Tetris pack these things. But still, like within the JDK itself, it'd be a shame if I had a CPU that's mostly idle, and that happens all the time, right? Now, with the virtual threads, I can keep it hopping. I can keep that thing being used 100% of the time.
Like we're all trying to make best use of like, whatever amount of money we have to spend, right? To get the most out of it.
Absolutely. Totally. So I hope that answers that question. I don't know. I feel like I made a point.
Let us know if that didn't.
Okay. So Tanzu, what's the new and is there anything we should talk about before we kind of wind down, or is there any new and novel you want to make sure people are aware of?
I mean, we have so much stuff
call to actions.
We have so much stuff going on in Tanzu. I would say you should pop by the website, because I think we have right off the website we'll have like a what's new, which will make it easy to then go and check out all the new stuff in Spring and Tanzu.
So is that tanzu.com what's new, or Tanzu?
Just go to tanzu.vmware.com.
Yeah.
We typically have kind of like a little button or something, or a little banner off the homepage.
Okay, let's see. Why Tanzu? Whoa.
Yeah.
We have a developer portal that I don't think people realize.
That's part of TAP. That's part amazing. Based on Backstage, super popular project right now.
Yeah. So dev experience. I'm looking for the what's new. Get started.
I don't know where it is then.
This website's always getting updated. I love our.
Maybe on the Tell Me More, right off that.
Tell Me More? Where is
that? Right here.
Oh, sorry. Okay, here we go. Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
People can
just start there.
It's
and everyone knows, Spring IO.
Spring 1 and Spring IO. You meant Spring IO? That's in Barcelona?
No, Spring.io.
Oh,
the main site.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, Spring.io, of course. And I hope they know. That's certainly where I tell people to go. But the Tanzu stuff, I really think people need to like the Tanzu stuff is really, really powerful. We have also a blog, a developer portal blog.
Yes, right? Yeah, so we've got a blog off the Tanzu site, and then from here you can go, from the Tanzu website, you can go directly to the Developer Center.
Yeah.
Right, which has like links to all the awesome stuff that you and your teammates do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Many different channels and different discussions and demos and all that goodness.
Just as soon as you've caught up with it, something new appears.
Absolutely.
I've never had developer center 0. As soon as I finish reading something, something else gets written
Of course.
or uploaded
Yeah.
or YouTube, whatever. Okay, good stuff. Let me see if there are any questions here. I know you're, and Spring Academy.
Spring Academy, yes. Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Yes, sign up free. You can sign up for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also Tanzu Academy. You were telling me.
Tanzu Academy, and then Cube Academy is still there.
Cube
Yeah.
Academy. QUBE.
Yes. Academy.
Academy. Yeah.
Yeah.
For Kubernetes. So Tanzu Academy is if you want to learn about the holistic sort of Tanzu story. Spring Academy is if you want to learn about Spring in
Mhm.
particular. Cube Academy is for just Kubernetes, and obviously these learn one that'll help you with the other one. You're better for all that.
Yep.
Okay. I really appreciate it. I can't believe I kept you away from the action.
No, it's
this
all
long.
good. It's
Um,
really great to sit down and chit chat
So good.
because we've just been running around.
Yeah, it has been. People ask me if I had like jet lag. I'm like, no, just lag. I'm just exhausted. There's nothing about the jet anymore. Like,
Yeah.
Just, oh,
I mean, you're always on the road, so you're always in so many different time zones. So I don't know if you can have jet lag.
yeah, it hasn't caught up to me yet. I'm
Yeah.
sure if I sat still for a minute, it would. But
It's Josh Standard Time.
yeah,
I think that's the thing we're talking about. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank
Appreciate
you
it.
for having me.
And thanks everybody for hanging out. Appreciate it. Okay.
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye.